Gibson's idea of the affordance structure as being primary in perception, which means, as I understand it, that when we observe something, when we have a perception of something, particularly a visual perception, we don't initially see the features, or we don't initially go through some sort of analytical process resulting in a choice of possible actions. He says that one of the first things we see is an object's affordance, so we see the opportunities it provides for engagement first. That idea, which I think is also similar to the phenomenological idea, I think is in Merleau-Ponty, it could be in Heidegger, of maximum grip. This idea that objects and our bodies are in a kind of mutual orientation process. We know just how far to position ourselves away from an object. We are kind of guided around objects and events and phenomena by the nature of that object. Those ideas, and particularly the idea that those things precede analytical versions, analytical types of perception, seem to have a great deal of logic in adaptive terms. I can imagine an evolutionary account for why those things would come first. Certainly if I was, some kind of animal, constantly under threat, constantly looking for opportunities to enhance my own survival possibilities, constantly looking for opportunities to reproduce, I was driven purely by the most simple version of the 4 F's that people talk about, the drives to, let me get this right, fight, flight, fornicate, and feed. If those are my primary drives, then the sort of sensory system I would need to maximize those would not be one that was driven by the need to analyze rationally, to categorize, to form taxonomies, to generalize, do any of the sort of things that we routinely do as part of our human conscious processes. What I'd be inclined to do, what would benefit me the most, as a sort of rudimentary version of perception, would be to immediately see an opportunity to engage with something, to immediately see a hole in the ground, a place to hide, or to immediately see a particular shaped stick as a possible weapon, to immediately see a certain sort of shaped animal as a potential mate. If I was just starting to develop some sort of sensory awareness, not awareness, that's not the right word, some sort of sensory cognition, if I was a very basic sort of animal, then from evolutionary terms and in terms of survival and genetic survival, it would make sense for that sort of perception to come first, for me to satisfy the perceptual need to identify the 4 F's before anything else. So there's possibly an adaptive account for why Gibson's idea of affordance structures, or why the idea of maximum grip, or some sort of embodied knowledge precedes other sorts of knowledge, more abstract knowledge forms.